All right, as everybody starts to join us here at Truth Will Set You Free Tuesday, the 11th edition, go ahead and put in the chat box where you guys are all coming from, where in the country you Streetlights and BetheChange family are from. Got a Olaf family from Linmark from California. Thank you guys for joining us. We had a good show today. Got a couple guests. Today should be a good one. We'll be getting started in just a couple minutes. We've got some really good topics today, including things like education continued from last week. And we're going to talk with a teacher for that. And then we're going to have a gentleman who's had issues with his family coming out as a conservative, not to support a conservative or democratic side or liberal or democratic, but just to show the idea that people are having trouble with those hard conversations with family. Again, we're going to be beginning in just a minute with Truth Will Set You Free here on Tuesday, July 21st. We've got Curtis, we've got Aaron, we've got Cash speeding home. We got a Jane Doe teacher that'll be one of our guests. She'll be to start. And then Isaiah Reed will be joining us today here on Truth Will Set You Free. We're down to 1 minute. All right, we'll be starting in about 30 seconds. Go ahead and share this page out. Increase the amount of people coming to watch. That would be fantastic. And we'll be getting started with Truth Will Set You Free Tuesday in about 20 seconds. Welcome, everybody. My name is Anthony Michael Russo from #BetheChange. We've got our co-hosts on the stage as well. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm welcoming you guys to this. Please continue to share. We're going to have a couple more people coming up. We've got some great guests on this show here on Tuesday. And again, this is Truth Will Set You Free. Why is it Truth Will Set You Free? Is because we are trying to give you as much political truth as possible. But here at BetheChange, it's not about politics. It's about how to have a conversation. It's how to unite with each other, and how to just realize that we're all very, very similar people amidst all of our differences. And that's pretty much what we believe in here at BetheChange. I'm going to introduce some of our other hosts, and they're going to give you guys a shout, a nice hello. Curtis, what's going on?
Well, good morning. Oh, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Is it evening? I don't even know what time it is with this pandemic going down. No, welcome to the show. I'm ready to go. And this the Truth Will Set You Free. We have some awesome guests, which I can't wait to jump into. And we had a very eventful last week. Well, I did anyway. I don't know everybody else, but yeah, what's up?
And Aaron didn't tie it all together today, but he's got the suit back on. So Aaron,
fresh.
What's going on in New York?
What's going on, everybody? Aaron Smalls hanging out here in New York City, just across the water in Long Island City. The truth is, I spilt red wine on my white carpet last night. Yeah, Home Alone face after that. Luckily, I was able to get it all cleaned up. And yeah, that made me smile that I was able to get it all cleaned up. Now I know that I need to clean my rug just a little bit more because that one spot is very clean now.
Well, that's it with current events here in the United States of America. Excellent. Thanks, Aaron. So now, before we get into the show, you said spelt. I say spilled.
That's why I corrected it.
Okay. All right. Just check.
That word came out, but it was spilled.
All right. Excellent. All right, guys. Again, Cash should be coming on in just a second, and then we'll start with our guests. First, I want to give just a basic rundown of what we're talking about on this show today. We're going to start with education. Those of us that joined us last week, those of you that joined us last week, we had a whole discussion about the importance of education, or is it more important for the kids to learn from home, and how there's issues with both of those situations. Second, we are going to bring up a gentleman who's having issues with his family because he came out as a conservative. in a Black family. And then at the same time, the fact that we've had a lot of people that have messaged us that they're having those same issues talking to their family, no matter what color their families are, and just how to try to start breaking the barriers, bridge the gaps, and all those different concepts with different religion. It used to be religion, now it's politics. So we're going to be talking about that on this episode, as well as the concept behind Black Lives Matter as a corporation and as a movement, and why it's an issue that they're the same names, and a little bit about the Portland riots. And then we are going to get out of here after this one. We're going to make this one a nice short hour and a half. Why? Because I need to see my daughter. So the way we're going to start this episode, though, is with I guess a creed. Joe Roblowski, actually Curtis knows Joe, he put something on his Facebook today that said, if you need to use name calling like snowflake, libtard, racist right, Trumpers, etc. in your argument is completely void from that point forward. Please learn how to have an intellectual debate with people where you state your opinion without using bullying tactics or name calling. Remember that each election is nearly 50% to 50%. Let's please show a little bit of compassion for the other 50% of America that may not agree with our thoughts without resorting to petty name calling. And yes, if you're doing the name calling, you are a big part of the problem with America, and our children are watching our actions. Carry on. So thank you, Joe. I didn't even tell you I was using your little bit to start the show. So
Joe,
across the board. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to tell you a little ditty about teaching and the issues that we had. Our next guest, or our first guest, we're going to go by the name of Jane Teacher. Why? Because teachers, very similar to police officers, cannot essentially disclose who they are based on the teachers' unions and all of the stuff when they actually have to make an official statement or make statements like this on something. So we are protecting this lovely lady's, I guess, anonymity, and we're going to bring her up. Jane, welcome to the stage.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's very ironic that your last name is Teacher and you are a teacher. So Jane Teacher, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm doing the right career, aren't I? I found my purpose.
All right. So Jane, you're going to start us off because you're going to tell you had a reason why you got in contact with me after last week's discussion. So go ahead and start it off and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I'm going to start a little bit personal and just tell you I'm 59 and a half years old. So, and I have an autoimmune disorder. So I'm probably in what they consider a high risk category. So I want to give my perspective on things, and I know this isn't the right answer. So when you guys were talking last week about the whether schools should open or how they should open, I wanted to offer a little bit different perspective. So I work in an extremely poor school district, and then in that school district, my school is even in a worse situation due to some system issues that I don't want to get into. But my demographic, we have 100% free and reduced lunch. All my kids get breakfast and lunch at school, 100%. Most of them live in trailers or apartments. Some are homeless. Some live in hotels. Very few live in homes. So they come. It's a transient population. So when you talk about the online option for educating, and I know we all know this, right? One size doesn't fit all. But online for my students, it would be, I won't say impossible, because if we have to do it, then we work really hard to do it. But I want people to appreciate that my kids are going to be collateral damage in this. They're not only are they extremely poor, they've got several people living in their homes. They could have 8-10 people living in a trailer. So picture trying to do online learning when you have all these people in a trailer, when you aren't sure where your meal's going to come from, right? When you are dealing with trauma, and my kids deal with a lot of trauma. All right. The majority of them are beyond grade level. I would say probably 5% of them are at grade level. I don't have any above grade level. So just, I want you to picture the environment. So I have more that are 3+ grade levels behind. So to try to do online learning with them, it's not going to happen. They need to have that face-to-face. This is, again, I'm giving my opinion, my perspective. They need their teachers. They need us. When I'm in front of my kids, it's very seldom am I presenting material and they're learning it. Remember, these are kids that can't subtract. If I say 9 minus 6, I got fingers going up. So, and I teach 6th and 7th grade math. Next year it'll be 6th grade, just so that you can get a perspective. All right. And one of the things that is very difficult for our kids is I have to, and I don't know if this is state law or if this is our district requirement, but I have to use grade level material, which I personally struggle with, because this is what's happening to my kids. They come into class every day, and I am presenting material. Picture yourself in a PhD physics class in college. All right. I don't care how good that teacher does. I am not learning anything. I'm going to sit there and feel like an idiot. So here these kids come every day, and I teach math, but in English and all their subjects, and it's so far above their grade level that we're telling them, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid. It's a subliminal thing that they feel they're worthless. They feel like they don't have a talent. And I actually talked to my administrator about this. I said, listen, we know that the trauma brain is affected big time. It makes it extremely difficult for these kids to learn because of the traumatic experiences they've been through. So maybe in 3rd grade, they couldn't learn their basic facts, or they couldn't learn this material. But now as they're getting older, maybe if we were using 3rd grade or 4th grade material, my kids would start having successes, and they would start learning, and they would start, they would start to grow. And and I have a great relationship with my administrator, and he said, well, we can't do that. And I don't want to know, again, I don't know if it's law, but I know it's district. Okay. His comment was, we can't do that because it wouldn't be equitable. So I asked him to explain that to me, because I didn't understand what that meant. He said, what it means is it wouldn't be fair for our kids to not be exposed to grade level material that other kids in the nation, other kids are getting. So, of course, I said to him, I said, that's the dumbest thing I've heard, because I don't think my kids are learning,
So Jane, so the thing that triggered you on the last episode was when you heard Curtis bring up, well, homeschooling's just, it's much better anyways. And I think that it's interesting when we watch, as everything has become a political issue, we watch how we find it to be, it's turned into a Republican Democrat thing. Republicans want kids to go back to school because they don't care about health. And then likewise, the other side is liberal wants the kids to stay at home because they care about the health, but then you're fighting over the educational side. So Curtis mentioned homeschooling, and that's what made you kind of jump out of your skin and need to get a hold of me. So I think you've kind of said it, but why does homeschooling neglect a large percentage of the population?
Because my kids are not going to have their safety net. They're not going to have a place to go. So it's not just that they're not going to learn. And I know they're not going to learn, because I know what I have to do on a daily basis to get them to learn. So it's not just that. They're going to be, the trauma that they're going to experience by being in this environment is going to have long lasting effects. And, I guess it's an opinion, but I really think that more of my kids are going to end up drugs, alcohol, jail, because they need to make that connection with their teachers. They say it takes one person to carry your life to help to put you on a right track. And I have major concerns that if we just sit there, remember, my kids have been out of school since March. So if we don't go back to school in September, what you're telling me is that we're not going to go back to, I think what you're telling me is that we're not going to go back to school until we have a vaccine.
Right. And we don't even know what the validity of that. So Jane Teacher, I'm going to have Curtis. I want you guys to have a conversation. I'm also going to introduce Cash is here. So we're going to bring him up real quick, check in on him, and then continue the conversation on education. So Cash, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, fellas? How's everybody doing? Hey, Jane, how you doing?
Hey, Cash. Good to meet you.
So if you don't know,
nice to meet you as well.
Jane is not really called Jane Teacher, but just the same way as a police officer.
Really?
We have
Hold
to,
on.
we have
Come
to
on now.
protect
Don't tell
her,
me that. I'm already. See, I can't hear anything she's saying now. I thought that was her name. I'm joking.
So, Cash, essentially, we were talking about similar to what you and I talked about this last week. So I know you're going to be in and out when your mom comes, but Jane needed to have this conversation because she heard Curtis talking about homeschooling. So, Curtis, kind of bring up your concept of homeschooling and how you feel after hearing Jane talk about the risk behind that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very, very valid, right? You know, and again, last week I said, in my opinion, and I also preface it as I don't have children. So, you know, my opinion is important to me, but at the end of the day, you know, it's really up to the parents, and parents have to figure out what they're going to do for their child. You know, because, you know, they can force teachers to do whatever they want to say, or, you know, statewide, I would believe, you know, whatever the government is, because it's the government, but parents at the end of the day have to choose what's best for their child. But going back to what, you know, I would say professor teacher, that Jane was talking about, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I have a family that was, I mean, my entire family was almost, you know, all teachers. My grandfather was one of the first Black principals in South Carolina. Grandmother was one of the first Black teachers at the schools. She taught in Columbia. And, you know, my mom was a professor. My sister was a teacher. And on and on. My grandmother was a teacher. And so, you know, a lot of the different things that how I was raised was, you know, you respect the teacher, right? You know, parents step up and handle the problems that your child is doing. But what you're talking about, Jane, I think is a major problem of the kids not being at the grade level to learn the grade level that they're teaching. And that's something that is a major problem in schools, you know, and if schools go back, that's still going to happen, unfortunately, because as you just stated, you know, that your principal or district or superintendent or, you know, whatever the law is where you are, because I know education is per state on some levels, you know, they are saying you have to teach it this way. But one thing I did see, and this is why the only thing I was for teaching at home or homeschooling, if it's possible, you know, of course, again, that's a caveat, that, you know, what I saw with my god kids, where they were at different levels, same age, but homeschool, they were able to learn the actual level they were on. And that was something that it was an online thing where they were able to go. And so they were able to get taught after they took tests to say, okay, we have to go back and you have to learn this because you can't learn with everybody else. So it was kind of like everybody in class, right, in that same room, but they all were getting different lessons based on what they were, you know, how they were, what their level was. And a lot of times I would say is, you know, if you're not really good at math and you continue on a path in math and you might be behind, you know, and Jane, you probably have a way more experience and understanding of what you're saying, that it's hard to bring that person back up, you know. And so for me, again, like, this is my opinion, you know, I say the parents have to pick, you know, and choose what they want to send their kids back to school or not, because of course that is food for the children. That I've definitely been working with church groups to make sure there's food fed. I have friends that are teachers in inner cities up in Philly, you know, that are making sure their children have food, and also safe spaces. You know, it's a lot of things like that that are major, you know,
So
in that. But at the same time is, you know, are they going to be safe from, you know, getting sick or getting parents or grandparents sick?
But it's a bunch of the stuff. And just because I know Suzanne made a comment on the side talking about it. We talk about homeschooling or distance learning. It's really both, because what happens is what we're always afraid of is the underprivileged and the privileged having a bigger gap. And ultimately, Curtis, I would love for the parents to teach their kids, but we're also assuming.
But it's not parents teaching. No, see, that's the thing. They're not parents teaching. It's literally they sit on an online course, and it's a teacher online teaching it. So parents are, and that's the thing. A lot of people think parents are the ones teaching it. That's a little older school. With online, it's definitely all teachers in their homeschool online programs, right? And so again, you have to have a computer, you have to have good internet, right?
But
you have to be able to sit down and do it. So that's another caveat.
That still continues that whole gap.
Again, but I'm just saying, though, at the same time.
I jump in, like, getting the
Go ahead,
internet.
Jane. Yeah, jump in.
The internet and the computer are the easy part. I just got to be real. Okay.
That's
not true. And, you know, I love my parents. So understand, I'm not being critical, but my parents aren't going to sit down next to their kids. You know, they can't. All right. Remember, there's 8 kids sitting in this environment. All right. And they've got, and I think Cash mentioned it on one of his videos when he was homeschooling, you know, when you got a lot of kids that are all trying to do different stuff, and it creates frustration, it creates anger, you know, like, why can't you learn? Why aren't you learning this? I get that. My point is, Curtis, that's awesome. And there are communities that can do that, right? There are communities that can do that homeschooling. I had 10% participation last year, and I called kids and I begged them, right, to participate, and they just didn't because of their situation. I mean, and I know it's an extreme situation, but I think there's a lot of kids out there like mine.
I don't think it's that extreme. I really don't think it's that extreme. Aaron,
they're the forgotten kids, and I just don't want them to be forgotten. And I understand all my teacher colleagues, not all of them, many of them are afraid to go back. I'm not. I'm not afraid to go back. I'm not afraid to go face to face. I figure if I can go grocery shopping and stay healthy, I can figure out how to be face to face with my kids. And and even like parents making that choice, they're afraid because the narrative out there is that we can't keep them safe. And
I mean, the other thing. Oops, sorry, go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I get passionate.
No, girl. Hey, you don't be apologizing ever.
And we can't see your face moving either.
Yeah, no. Aaron, go ahead. Go ahead, Aaron.
Italian, so the hands are going too. But
no, Aaron, go ahead, and then we'll have Cash before he's got to run outside real quick. So, Aaron, go ahead.
I kind of just want to be devil's advocate on this, and
you don't have to say devil because you don't put a bad light on it. It's a choice right now. It's an option. We don't know.
No. Both sides. This is. I'm just trying to think of different perspectives that would tune in that aren't on here, and to kind of take an opposite side of it that to me is an insensitive side of it. But I pose the question of if the school is their one safe place and they're not in school, they're still relatively in a not safe place. So the question that I would see from another perspective is what difference is if they're already behind them being further behind.
I was going to say that.
Is that to me, Aaron?
Yeah, well, kind of to everyone, but I'm just trying to think of and why I say devil's advocate perspective, because I can hear someone saying that, and it's something that I could hear being said, and it would like set me off. Yeah. So, but I could still hear it being said. So that's why I asked that as a question. If they're already behind, the
status quo? Yeah. What's going to happen to help it?
Well, my goal as a teacher in where I work now is it's never about, am I teaching them math? Are they learning math? Because remember, if you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, my kids are on the bottom rung. They're not even on a rung. I'm gonna be honest with you. Their safety, security. So what I offer them isn't, boy, I'm the best math teacher out there, because I'm not. But I'm that safe space for them. I'm that person that's, I look at my job as their teacher to try to build the esteem to say, you have value, you have a talent, you have a purpose. And we talked about it a little bit. I don't want them. If they don't have support and if they aren't getting built up somewhere, they are going to end up in jail. We know where they're going. And I want to be that purpose, because I know they have a talent. Everybody, has a purpose. And so, Aaron, my comment back to you is that's why I don't want anybody to know who I am, right? I could care less whether they're learning math right now, because that is not, that's what you pay me for. I understand that, and I get measured. Are you effective? They grow in math. But you know what? That's not why God put me into teaching, and especially in this school district. Okay.
That's true.
To help them become who they're supposed to be. And my kids are beaten down. And like I said, every day they come in and I have to present this material way over their head, and my colleagues are too. They're all trying, but it's way over their head. So just think, 6 hours a day, you're stupid. You don't get it. But our 8th graders, they don't even try. Why? Because when you're in 8th grade, you would rather be looked at as not trying than to be looked at as being stupid.
Yeah. Jane, so Really quick, I want to go to Cash because Cash, you have both perspectives because you and I this last weekend, we drove through your neighborhood. Obviously, I'm assuming, not to sound like a jerk, but I'm assuming the school district wasn't great. So you managed to also self-educate as well as you're raising kids that are going to a slightly better school district than what you were raised in, but not perfect either. And you also have a lot of kids. So for you, it's financial as well as actually your background. So I'd love to hear your feedback on this.
Okay, well, where I'm at, they're offering both. So you can, the thing that they're doing, I believe, as far as my understanding is you can send your kid back to school, and there'll be days where they don't go to school. There'll be e-learning days, and there'll be in-class days. At first, I was against them going back because I was scared of the COVID thing, and God bless Dr. Frank. I hope he's doing better. It made me more real into the situation. But as I'm still studying it, it's shown that it's only elderly people and very young people that are really, really like affected in a bad way where they're like comas and death and things like that. I personally want my kids to go back to school, and I'm going to send them back to school because my kids are pretty healthy. They really don't have any health issues, and they're at an age where they'll beat it. If you look at the statistics, it's like this thing is like influenza, it's like a really bad influenza, and
kids.
Yeah, and they won't die, but my kids need an education because my kids are really intelligent. But my daughter, I love my Rai. She's my baby, but her hair color sets it off for her. She is cute. Rai is really cute. She's not she needs school. She needs a teacher. She needs one-on-one, and I give her as much one-on-one as I can. But with everything going on, it's a little more hard for me to sit there and do everything that I have to do, which I still make time for my baby and show her numbers and colors and things like that. But the teachers are full on with them. They have a relationship with them. It's better for them to be in school, and that's my opinion. I'm sending my kids back. When it's time to go back, I'm sending them back. And on the days they have to be home, then I'm going to be home with them, and just make the time. But I don't think that the kids need to be out of school. That's personally my opinion, because it's not, especially with teenagers. Teenagers, they're not going to die from this. They might get sick. God forbid they don't. God willing, they won't die from this. Let me say that, because if this thing mutates,
I was about to say,
if this thing mutates and becomes something else, then it's bad. But right now, as it stands, we're doing pretty good. We got more testing than any other country. We're doing pretty good. People aren't really dying all crazy about it, like how they're saying it's. As far as with the death, like you get hit by a car and you got COVID, it's counting it as a death. So our death toll goes up. But in actuality, a lot of people aren't dying from this. I
think so. The big thing is, and even if you listen to both sides of the aisle right now, it's not the kids dying per se, because ultimately it's looking the same. It is really mathematically, if you look at statistics, it's looking the same as the flu. The issues are the children with comorbidities that they may not know, which are still few and far between, but it's the parents that they go home to. It's the grandparents they go home to. It's the teachers that, like Jane, have some underlying health conditions that can actually make it difficult.
That's where it comes into, are they doing everything possible to keep it preventative when we send the kids to school? And that's the thing. And that's what we have to know. That's why the strategy and the game plan has to be transparent. We have to know those things. Over here, they put that out there. They're showing what they're going to be doing to make sure that kids are separated, social distance, mask, all these things. Washing their hands. There's going to be hand sanitizer all in the rooms. They're going to wipe down the desk with Lysol and things like that. So, of course, upkeep has to play into that. And, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to say about places because, people go out places every day. We go out places every single day. You go into the grocery store, you don't know who handled the box, how they handle the box. You don't know if they're wiping the carts down all the way, the right way. You don't know if, you don't really know anything. The people that's making your food at the fast food place, when you're getting your money and getting your change back, all these things. We don't know. So we've been dealing with it. I've been dealing with it. You guys have been dealing with it, and we see how it's been, and we're still okay. So I'm just saying that it's hurting the kids, man, being home, because I think Rai forgot how to count to 100 already.
Well, I will say really quickly, one of the biggest things is that a lot of these governments that are saying our kids are going back have not given any plans on how to keep people safe. So that's one of the big reasons.
Well, my city
that I've seen.
Indiana has.
That's what,
Indiana
this is
has.
America.
You're
America
right.
is a big country.
You're definitely right, brother.
And Georgia's saying stuff, Florida's saying stuff, and yet they are going crazy. And it's like, well, you ain't really been doing too well with what you already said once. We get to figure out what's going to happen with the kids, because the kids are very important. But I will say for the other thing with just with COVID, one thing to do know, there is some.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Just a heads up. It's not, and one thing is good. I'm seeing it in the studies. It's not as dangerous, but it is living longer in the body and coming back in different ways, and it is causing inflammation, which a lot of people, again, this is why I go back to the health aspect with your mom, Anthony. We talked a bunch. Is the inflammation is the biggest key to a lot of problems in the body. And if most of Americans are not living in an inflammation-free way, we eat foods that cause inflammation. So the problem we have to look at is overall health for ourselves. But at the same time, COVID is not a normal virus, which I don't want to go down that track, Anthony. I've already, we go down that track. But we
still don't know what it is. We really don't.
It has some tendencies of inflammation. And inflammation is something that lasts longer than just sneezing, coughing, and that. So all disclaimer, of course, it's not as deadly with some of the kids, but it has caused toxic shock and Kawasaki disease in a few kids of what they've seen. Again, this is all, they're still learning, like you said. So just be very careful with information. It's not meant to scare you. This is just saying education.
In the long term with children so far, it has, even with the inflammation, and I will end it here, but I do want to have one last thing with Jane talking about choice of school. Ultimately, flu can kill children. We don't stop the world for it. So ultimately, the issue is still, no matter if the added inflammation or not, that's not the issue. We're not stopping school because of the kids. We're stopping it for everything surrounding it. And the other big topic right now is choice of school. And I know, Jane, you want to talk about that? Then we're going to wrap this up. I know Isaiah's in back, and we'll bring him up right after that. So go ahead, Jane. Tell us, we were talking earlier a little bit about the choice of school.
Okay, yeah, I just want to just piggyback a little bit on Curtis, if I can. I'll try to talk fast. I'm Italian, I can get quickly. I think we do know, though, Europe is ahead of us, right? Europe, they have sent their kids back, and there are studies out there, so we can see this. We also know that we've had daycares that have been open, and I haven't heard anything. And again, I don't know what's real and what isn't. But we've had daycares open this whole time because we've had people back at work. So we've been able to do that, to a certain extent. And again, I'm not arguing that everybody go back. I just want to make sure that we all understand what's going to happen to the marginalized kids in our. That's all. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
And then just the last point that I kind of touched on briefly was, we talked about that school to prison pipeline, and I kind of already brought it up about. I have concerns, so I want to be perfectly clear. I believe in choice for schools, but because I don't feel threatened as a public school teacher. I believe in charter schools. I don't have a problem with them. I don't know if I believe, whatever. I think charter schools are fine. I think, private schools are fine. What I question is the narrative that what's going to fix our school problems is if we give everybody school of choice and you can leave these failing schools and everything will be great. That's what I'm questioning. Now, yes, my district is poor, so we don't have a lot of the stuff that an upper middle class school district has. But the problem isn't that the teachers are failing. I'm going to be honest with you. The group of teachers I work with in my district are the best I've ever worked with. Because you want to know something? Bad teachers don't last in my school because they can't handle it. What we have to deal with is, it's not easy. Let me put it to you that way. So when you label us as a failing schools because my kids are failing, no. That's what I struggle with, is to say, well, we're going to fix this by all the, I hear the politicians say is we're going to give them school of choice and it's all going to be fixed. And I know that we're running out of time, so I'm not going to get into it too much more, other than I would like people to think about, if you take that child that's 3 or 4 grade levels below and you move them to middle class white district, all right, I should say
they're going to
white.
fail.
Yeah, they're going to fail, right? I know. Caught myself. I'm sorry. I apologize. I know. Sorry, Curtis.
I agree with you at one point. I just will say that sometimes in more well-funded schools, you have more opportunities for tutoring and things like that. and different programs are set up. And this is another thing, but programs are different when you look at two different schools for students, when you have a lot more money and a lot more resources. But again, like you said, a lot of the best teachers, and I have friends who are teachers in the inner city, are there, grinding it out. And that's something that people don't really realize, and they blame the teachers. And that's one thing I definitely don't agree with, is that you blame the teachers for the children. Like, the teachers need to do a better job. No, parents have to do a better job, because I know what my parents did. If I acted up with my teacher, I don't know, some people might not like this, I got a spanking. And I was in school when they said, can we spank your child? I never got spanked in school, but that was there in that clause. So
you got to take the serenity. You got to take the serenity, Curtis. There, you got to accept the things you cannot change. If a kid had a bad parent, he's probably going to not be able to do the same thing either. So it's actually changing it from a systematic perspective. Jane, we're gonna do a wrap up on this. You got any final words? Then we're gonna go to Aaron.
No, just thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate at least getting a perspective out and speaking up for my kids. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you, Jane, so much for having you.
Thank you, Jane, for working hard in that, because I will say it's not easy what you're doing, and you're underfunded, you're not appreciated, you're definitely not paid as well as you should be paid. And definitely I believe all three of us are here to say, we believe in teachers, and I'm praying for teachers every day. Of course, you guys are on the front lines.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull you in back, Jane. Aaron, do you want to wrap up on this topic?
Yeah. So a couple different thoughts on this topic. Thought one is Jane teacher definitely is like a guidance counselor almost. And I don't know if schools still have guidance counselors, but that is sounds like it's critical. Like, I didn't particularly go to the guidance counselor all that often, but knowing that they were there as a resource was helpful. And I feel like that's very much more of what she is in this particular case, is a guidance counselor. And I respect and I appreciate that. As far as kids going back to school, I think they go back to school, and I think it's just a time process in regards to the cleanliness and the testing of things. I think when they're coming into school, there needs to be more of a process so that they can get their hands wiped down. They can maybe get that temperature check before they go in, that kind of stuff before they actually go into the school. So you're talking more time in the beginning of this process for them to go through all that. Then they go into the school. There's much more of a time during the day where there is the cleaning, like whether the kids are washing their hands or they're wiping things down, or the teachers are wiping things down, or there's less kids so that you can keep them kind of spaced out. And then the same kind of a process at the end of the day when they're leaving. If the parents have their masks on, and in the, I'll say the export process, when they're leaving this school, it's kind of the same thing. Before they leave, they get that temp check, they get their hands wiped down before they get into the parent's car. And then I feel like it's an inconvenience for the parent, but the parent just kind of has to know, like, once they're coming home from school, you're going home so that they can shower and change, and then you guys can go back out and do whatever errands. I think that is the closest process in my mind I can even fathom of how this would even work. Because if you think about, I try and relate this to doctors frequently, of a doctor doing surgery. A doctor, there's got to be some kind of, I don't know the protocol, but I know that doctors have to be doing some kind of checks and tests before they're doing surgery for their own health and well-being. I know that from movies and TV shows when they're going in, because I've never had surgery personally or actually seen it, but in movies and TV show, there's the scrub-in process. There's them getting clean. There's the nurses helping them get in there so that they can minimize. So in my mind, it's a similar process to that, but for kids, and you're minimizing how many kids it is. So then they're at least getting back into school, even if you have to rotate or shift the schedule so that you have some kids in the morning and some kids coming in the afternoon. then they're not completely missing out on somewhat of an education. That's the only thing I can really think
I will say, since you don't have kids, that's an impossibility with those grubby little individuals. But yes. All right, Curtis, 30 seconds.
I mean, I don't have children. So again, like, for me, children going back to school is a parent's choice. It depends on what you see is fit for you and your child, your family, what at risk that you have at your house. And then at the same time, I think we need to do a better job of supporting the communities that need the money and need the help to provide a better experience. Because again, like Aaron said, and I've said this before to others in talking, if children are already behind what the status quo was, going back to the status quo is not going to help it get better. You need to see what's going on, fix that problem, or at least try to find ways to enhance it to make it better. Because otherwise, saying that kids would go and get behind from not going back to school when they're already behind, it kind of doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. It's going to be the same
so
issue.
We have to figure out how to make it better.
All right, so we're going to bring up Isaiah. I'm going to wrap up this topic. The one thing that I wanted to say, and I think there was one fantastic thing that I saw go down the line. First off, my personal opinion, it's got nothing to do with how you have to feel. Kids, they have to find a way for the underprivileged kids to go back to school. I think it's ironic that it's become a political issue when the liberal community looks at it as we need to help every single minority on the planet. And in the end, if you look at things systematically, minorities are underprivileged from a wealth standpoint, socioeconomic, previous education. And the people that are going to get hurt the most because they don't have the ability to have tablets unless their state requires it or provides it to them. They don't have parents that are able to teach. They've got single parent households. If you're truly one-sided on your political argument, these are the kids that actually need the help the most, and we're leaving them behind. And we're risking in 10 years looking back and saying, well, that whole group, that year that we missed in school, is it okay to take a month extra to prepare things? And I know that there's actually some plans through the White House right now in order to enact part of the second level of funding for the COVID funding or whatever, pandemic relief fund, is actually going directly into fixing these public schools. So the ultimate thing I saw on the side to end the conversation is somebody said, this is a really difficult decision. That's what I'm ultimately trying to say, because what you see online, and this is the ultimate concept behind Truth Will Set You Free and Be the Change, is this is a really hard decision. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It is a lose-lose. It is a win-win-ish, more of a lose-lose. So the fact that people are having issues with people that have a difference in opinion of saying, you want to bring kids back, you're a terrible human, or you don't want to bring kids back, you're a terrible human. Two different ways to see it. Please understand that it can be very difficult either way. So now it's about time we bring up Isaiah. I thank you guys for sending me Isaiah. You guys sent me his video. I can't remember who sent it through the chat, but we're going to go ahead and play about 1 minute of it to give you an idea who he is. This is a video that he shot on his 24th birthday after he admitted to his family that he was of a different political delineation than them, and his family was so upset about it that they disowned him in that moment. And they had a family fight. So I'm going to go ahead and play this real quick, and then we're going to bring up Isaiah Reed.
Not here.
Can you not hear it?
Nope.
No.
Can you hear it?
All right. Hang tight. Hold on. I'll fix it. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. Strike one.
One caveat. The HEROES Act that the House did also present earlier did have money in there for education also. So that both sides are hopefully coming together on that,
right,
which would be awesome.
Yes, definitely. Give me a split second. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Stop the screen. Sorry about that, Isaiah. That's my bad. And we're going to bring it right back up. I forgot to hit the include audio button. Always love doing that. Sorry about that, guys. And I'm also going to bring Cash back up as well. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. Let me know if it doesn't work.
My family didn't like that.
Thumbs up.
That's so common sense. That looting and rioting will make no difference in the case of George Floyd. You know? And so I've come to the conclusion that my family loves politics more than they love me. I was
Man, it loves when we do this
kicked
show.
out of my own
There we go.
house. I was told not to ever speak to my family again. All because I had a different perspective. All because I had a different opinion.
All right, I think we get the gist. So he essentially told his parents that he was a Trump supporter or a Republican in any way, shape, or form. And even though we're allowed to have difference in opinions, it was enough to where his family had issues with it to the point they're really not speaking. So we're going to bring up Isaiah right now. Isaiah, welcome to the stage. Mr. Isaiah Reed, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Sorry for the delay. We always are about 10 minutes behind. We're on Cashley Kelly time typically on this show.
I like how you did that. I like
We're on how long does Curtis speak time? That's what we're on.
And Anthony. Isaiah, tell us a little bit about why you made that video, how things are with your family, and essentially then we'll go back to why you started shifting to be a conservative. And to be very clear to everybody on this show, we're not choosing a political party. We're simply saying how to have a conversation and why people become the way they are.
Right. So recently the world has been really politically, straining just in general. There's been a lot of separation just in general. A lot of people have been heated on both sides. During my birthday, it almost seemed like it turned from like heaven to hell, like real quick. Now, during this time, I was really hesitant, but it seemed like my family really wanted me to bring it up. It seems like they found a letter in the mail from Trump. I guess I signed up for like the Trump thing online, and they found like the letter in the mail or something. So they wanted to bring it up. Now, I didn't really want to bring it up. I was just kind of trying to dodge the situation because I knew it was my birthday, and it was also like we're doing Father's Day at the same time. So I didn't really want to fall into a situation in which it could turn toxic because, hey, it's my birthday, it's Father's Day, everything's going to be all good. I just wanted everything to be all right. And so, eventually I just told him, look, I am a Republican, like I am. And it seemed like they had this like smile, but like deep down inside, it was like, I'm angry at you, but I'm gonna act like I'm not angry at you.
How did it spiral from that point?
Right. So I literally told him like, yo, I do support Trump and everything like that. And it kind of started out with my brother. Now my brother was getting super emotional because he was hardcore for like riots and all that kind of jazz. So for some reason, things just started spiraling. And the weird thing is, the things that started coming out of these people's mouths went from like the logic just flew out the window. It was literally just all emotion at that point. Just absolute emotion. No logical statements, no reasoning in any shape or form. During that time, I felt like I was a black sheep in my own house. For me, I was more like, hey, look, I'm a Republican, you guys are Democrats, but I feel like we could agree to disagree. And I feel like we could still live together as family members, and we could be all good. Look, you're a Democrat, I'm Republican, it's not really a big deal. But it just turns into this emotional type of tirade that I just didn't understand. It almost kind of scared me during that time because I just didn't really understand what was going on during that time. So it just went from heaven to hell real quick. So after that entire incident, I just didn't really feel like I guess as a man, especially I guess in the black community, sometimes it's kind of hard to really like share your emotions with people, especially as a man sometimes, at least in my humble opinion. So I felt like I couldn't really go to many friends because I didn't really want to show any signs of weakness. And I don't know, I felt alone because I couldn't really go to my family either. So I felt like I was stuck. I was kind of emotionally just like, where do I go to? Because I feel like this isn't going to be healthy if I continue to try to hold this in. And I'm in such a toxic situation that I feel stuck. So I didn't really know where to go to. I had like a private little YouTube account where I would just vent my frustrations and things of that sort. So I just went to the little YouTube account just to get like, you know, get the stress out just in general. You know what I mean? Just to really free my emotions and free my thoughts. Cause like, I felt like if I held that in, it would be toxic. And I didn't really know how to cope as a person, especially when you're disowned from your family and that kind of situation happens. So it was hard to go through that situation. But the crazy thing is, after that situation, like I went to bed, I uploaded the video, and I woke up and I started getting messages all throughout my phone and everything. And I was just like, what is going on here? Because during this time, I just kind of lost hope in humanity.
Cash knows what that's like.
I lost hope in humanity. Like I lost hope in humanity. Like when I saw people rioting and burning down Black communities. Now I understand that there were people who intercepted Black Lives Matter, but for the most part, when I was looking on my news feed on Facebook, I saw the majority of my Black friends and Black people who I looked up to saying, hey, yeah, you should burn everything down. You should burn these stores down. So it wasn't just interceptors or Antifa, but I'm seeing all of these Black people around me being like, yo, like we should burn everything down and we should tear down these statues. So I understand when Black Lives Matter is just like, yo, Antifa is doing all this and just white people is doing all this. But that's when I just lost faith in humanity. And I was just like, I don't even know where to go anymore. I don't even know what's the point of just being in this world, man. Like it was hard. So during that time, I posted the video, I woke up, and I'm starting to get all of these messages. Like people were emailing me. I didn't even have an email on my YouTube account. I don't know how people started emailing me, but
Internet.
People were just telling me. I'll try to like make this quick. But people kept on telling me like, yo, like I've been going through the same situation. Like my family started disowning me. My kids started disowning me. Like people who are gay, straight, veterans, old people, young people, kids, grown-ups, like everybody from all different walks of life. And especially I've been getting a lot of messages from people who've been hiding their politics or hiding that they vote Republican because they fear that this is going to happen to them.
Yeah.
So, you know, during that time, I've been getting so much support. I got a video that went viral, and it's just the world, like the world just got more weird. The world just got more strange than it was before for me. But at the end of the day, I just thank God that, you know, I could regain hope in humanity, but also that I could help people and give hope to other people who know that they're not alone in these types of situations. So it's been a really interesting ride here.
Kelly brings up an interesting point. It really has. It's become the new quote unquote closet issue because people are so afraid to have the conversations because it could be a Republican, it could be a Democrat that ends up getting aggressive with your opinion. So we got Isaiah here.
Way too. Kind of crazy.
Did anybody have any questions for Isaiah? Anybody want to ask him anything? Cash, you got anything for him?
I just want to tell you, man, hey, it takes a lot to speak out, man. You know, and unfortunately for you, you didn't get the chance to choose to tell your parents when you wanted to, you know, talk to them about it. Trump kind of told on you. And it's all good though, man. I just want to say, brother, nobody should ever beat you down for your belief in anything. As long as you're not harming nobody, as long as you're not taking from anybody, then you're that's an American right, you know? And I'm proud of you, man, for standing on what you believe in, no matter what it is. For you to stand on what you believe in and not let it detour you and make you negative and make you, you know, feel bad about anything in yourself. You keep on being you, bro. You keep on doing the things that you feel are for you, you know? And hey, I'm in the same boat as you. I really am in a lot of different areas, a lot of different ways. I'm listening to you talk right now and I'm just relating to you so hard. You know what I'm saying? And I'm with you. You know, you're not alone. Just know that you are not alone, bro. I'm with you. I'm going to give you my number when this is done. If you ever need to get a hold of me, you need anything, you need to talk, I'm always going to be here. All right?
All right, cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Aaron, you got any questions for Isaiah? Or thoughts?
You can jump over to Curtis. I'm still processing.
Curtis, what do you got? Because here's let me preface this real quick. So Cash, as Cash just said, he's been dealing with similar stuff in his community. Isaiah, and I'm going to ask you this in a second, the background that you have, but it's a different socioeconomic class than Cash, but it's still Black community, Black friends, and you're dealing with the same issues just on a different socioeconomic system. But Curtis is very politically ambiguous, but he's got feelings on each
binary,
side.
Baby.
Binary with his politics. But I'm curious. Well, that's why Cash was an interesting conversation with you. But Curtis, I'm interested what you think when you hear something like that, knowing what you've gone through with your family, just similar discussions.
Well, I mean, I will say, I'm sorry that he had to go through that. Like I've been blessed with parents who are very open. And they tell me, you go create and find what you want to believe in. No matter, we're Christian. They told me that even as a young age, like, you have to choose this. We can't force this on you. And that's something that also, like, in my, like, growing up, like, my parents are like, we're not Republican or Democrat. We look at who's going to be the best for what we believe, and then we vote for that person. And that's something that has stuck with me a lot, because I do believe people tend to, like in Isaiah's, and many others on both sides, like, oh, wow, you voted for Hillary? I can't believe that. I mean, I've heard people get kicked out for voting for Hillary. And then, of course, we know on the other side, people get kicked out for voting for Trump or supporting Trump. And that's something that I see as a problem with him saying he didn't believe in humanity anymore. That is a problem, right? That's the same thing that happens with sexuality, same things that happen with religion. And if people would just get out of their own way and say, hey, let this person believe what he wants or she wants to believe and be okay with it. And I'm glad, Isaiah, that you didn't go down the opposite route and, fight back and go crazy on them or whatever else. You were like, nah, I'm going to do me, and you know who you are. And that's something that I would hope that they see this and they'd love for you to come back around. Has anything happened since then?
Yeah, so I don't know, like, it's been hard because it's just like when people betray you, it's hard to want to go back and give them a second chance and do that kind of thing. But at the same time, they have been kind of reaching out a little bit recently. And a lot of people have been really just praying for me and my family. Like, thousands of people have been praying for me and my family. So I think it really is kind of resonating right now. And hopefully it could definitely get better in the future. So we'll definitely see what happens from there.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely be praying.
Well, the one lesson we talk about on the show, and when they do reach out, obviously, is ultimately you can Candace Owens them all day long. You can be like, but this is why, Mom. This is why, Dad. This is why. But ultimately, you're meeting that whole emotion with logic, and they're to them right now, they don't understand why you're different than they are. So ultimately, if they're willing to have a conversation, even if it's about the baseball season starting this week, have that conversation. Just find a way to still continue to show love, even though they were the way they were to you. Before you go, I want to, Joshua had this question, and I want to preface it with, here's the deal. He asked, what hope for humanity has Trump provided for you? And before you answer it, I'm just going to say it's not necessarily fully about the presidential candidate. It's just about the reasons why you have an opinion and being able to have one. And I'm sure he can answer it for you. But ultimately, that is a question, Joshua, that starts the whole fight. Well, it's not a great conversation starter, because then it becomes, well, what has Biden done for you? And then it's a pissing contest on who's a little bit not as bad or who's a little bit better. It's a very difficult question to have. But Joshua, why do you support Trump?
Oh, why do I?
Yeah.
Oh, like personally, I guess in the beginning of the election, I didn't really.
Well, hang on. I'm gonna interrupt you because this goes back on what I always ask.
Okay.
And I could be wrong, but were you a Republican before Trump?
No.
So coming up to 2016, What led you towards going, I am a Republican, I'm going to vote for Trump? Was it the way that you saw the parties, or was it that you felt you had to make a decision? What is it that led you to that point? Because I think that's the question.
Very good question
about Trump or Biden or any of that. So take me back. I think that's where.
Okay.
Go.
All right. So 2016. For 2016, I feel like I wasn't 100% left wing. I feel like I was more in between. I've always been somebody who tries to think independently and, just think with a little bit of common sense and things of that sort. So when Trump won, I wasn't like hooray or anything. I was more like, I kind of just laughed. I kind of just laughed because I saw the world just falling apart for so many different people around me. And when I thought about Trump, I mostly just thought, hey, he's not really going to do much. Really, either he's not going to do much, but I never thought he would cause like World War III or like Nazi regimes or things of that sort. And like everybody around me is just like, Trump is going to destroy the world and things of that sort. So for me, I feel like Trump has also helped the Black community. He's donated to the NAACP. He's lowered Black unemployment by around 8%. He also is supporting a Black lady for mayor. I think she's going to be mayor of Atlanta or Georgia. I think her name is like Angela Stanton or whatever. And so,
what state is that, Curtis? You know better.
Not Atlanta.
It's not Atlanta.
That for sure.
Oh, no,
Lance Bottoms is Atlanta.
Yeah, but I know. I know
you're good.
No, but yeah, Angela Stanton. I really agree with a lot of what she says. Just in general, I think she would be a fantastic politician and everything like that. So I feel like our values just kind of align just in general, and I feel like he's helped the Black community a little bit. Just in general. So I also feel like I'm more Republican because I feel like the left has went so left that I feel like a lot of people are just, they're kind of over it. They just feel like it's too much, you know what I mean? I feel like it's just become so extreme that even traditional liberals are just like, what is going on here? Because it's gotten to such an extreme point when it comes to their views and their ideology that it just has a lot of America just questioning if they want to really support their parties just in general. So I think it's a combination of just the extreme viewpoints of the left in today's current age. It's also that I feel like he's kind of helped the Black community in an economic type of way, and the future leadership that he plans to support for the future of America. So that's kind of a few reasons why I kind of support him just in general.
Got it.
Really quick, read that right there, Anthony.
And the bigger question is, do you support Trump's views or Republican views? Remember that Trump didn't start out as a Republican. He actually started the campaign as an independent. That's a question from Terrence.
Right, of course. So for me, I feel like my views are more Republican. I also like Trump when it comes to the wall, just in general.
The world or the wall?
The wall. Okay. Yeah, so I kind of think of it like this. It's kind of like having a house without a door in front of the house. Some good people might come into the house and everything like that, and it could be all good and we could be all safe, but there could also be really, really bad people who come in and things of that sort. And I know that sounds terrible to the average person, but I think it's important to really have security when it comes to the borders of our country. Just so that we could have safety when it comes to that regard. And I feel like it also helps in an economic type of way, especially when it comes to jobs in America. I feel like Americans should really be the first ones who have privilege to get these jobs, especially if they're American citizens. But also I think it's really unfair when we have, immigrants who wait for years to get into the United States. And they wait for years to really become citizens of the United States. And then you have these other people who just walk in and they could just do that. I just feel like it's really unfair.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, they don't walk into a citizenship. Just let you know that.
It's illegal.
It's a very tough road, and I don't have a side on that opinion. I'm very like logical. There's a lot of things that we can look at. I mean, and looking at the history of America was started by people who did not wait years to get a citizenship. So I'm not for the side of just coming in and let everybody be a citizen. No, because no country does it. I've tried to work in other countries. Well, not tried to work in other countries, and they definitely have processes to become. Now, as a business owner trying to hire people, you put it out there and you look who's the best candidate. It's not just you hire somebody who's from another country just because they're from another country. Because I know people who have tried to hire people from other countries or people who weren't documented and try to pay them less, which is wrong, because it doesn't matter whoever it is, and those things we need to protect. But at the same time, that argument of the jobs are getting taken by people from international countries, that's a narrative that I don't believe in, because I'm in the job market actively hiring people. And when you look at how America is, I mean, it's what it is. Our readiness for the future jobs is not there. America is not there, and we're not close. And so what happens is Google's and all these other companies, and again, I don't want to speak from just for ourselves. We look for the best candidate, which is going to make my company do the best. Our company is Black owned. We have everybody there working from LGBTQ to white, Black, Asian, doesn't matter. But what we look at is the best qualified. And I will tell you a trend that I am seeing, and this is why I'm so big on education. And my dad has started working with Microsoft to do coding for the kids in inner cities, and things that the inner city children aren't getting, and children in general in America, is the education training for the future of America and future of business. We're not getting shipped out jobs. It's automation coming in, and it's AI. And we have to do better as Americans for ourselves, for education, to make sure we're prepared for this, because the companies are going to hire that position no matter what. And now what's happening, and this is what people don't realize, they don't even have to come to America now, because virtual offices are taking over and you can work from home. So this is going to be a non-issue, because hey, I don't have to come to America. I can just hire this person and they can be contract. So we have to, again, look at that narrative. A lot of these things are talking points. I want to make sure we look at the narratives of making sure we see that as Americans, we have to do our job, our point, and being educated for that. And that's all I wanted to make sure I touch on that point.
Yeah, definitely.
What I want to find say that's interesting about what Isaiah said, when you were asked, were you more of a Trump supporter before, or were you more of a Republican, or where do your beliefs come from? What's very interesting is your beliefs are, in previous years, what you believed in would actually be considered a centrist, because the things you said, like border protection, as well as the way that Trump has done his spending, is actually the way that Obama, Clinton, Bush, it's essentially the core concepts of the way America has been the last 20 years. So technically you lean a little bit conservative based on what you're saying, but not very far, because border control and protection was a huge thing with Obama. He deported more illegal immigrants than any other president in history. So ultimately I think the way that you started to stray, and it's based on the education of the way we're teaching younger people, and we've made it to a point where, do you choose the way we've done a lot of our business in general, or do we change our whole system, which I know some of it's broken, but do we change the whole system of immigration? Do we become a very wide open country in a different sense? And that's kind of where the party lines have now split, it seems. So to answer the way, because you were talking about where you came from, but I do want to ask you one more question before Aaron wraps up on this one with you. You and I talked about your background, and you did say a little bit, you were a little bit more on the quote unquote Black Lives Matter side. You didn't actually have a Black Lives Matter event, but before you started to make the switch, you told me you had a conversation with your buddies, and they were talking about how you guys were saying how Black people are all getting killed and hunted down, and then you all of a sudden had this kind of epiphany, and that's where this all started several years ago, correct?
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely go into it a little bit more.
Yeah, go for it.
If you want me to.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess back in 2014, 2015, there's been a lot of different shootings when it comes to Black individuals and things of that sort. And that really kind of hit my soul just in general when it comes to just being a Black individual in America. And during that time, I kind of really just wanted to create a meeting with Boston police to really talk about, this rampant issue of, Blacks being killed by cops and Blacks being mowed down by cops and things of that sort during that time. And so during that time, I decided I wanted to create a meeting with the cops of Boston. And I kind of asked, what I did was I kind of asked a lot of my friends, like pretty much all of my Black friends. I was just like, do you know anybody who's been killed by a cop before? And they were just like, no, not really. And I'm just like, wait, what? Excuse me? Like, wait, what are you talking about? They were just like, no, like, not really. I don't know anybody who's been like killed by a cop or anything like that. And so I was just like, I was really kind of confused during that time. Now, obviously, this is a super overgeneralization, but I talked to my friends, the people in my circle, and they were just like, dude, I don't really know anybody who's been killed by a cop or anything like that. Then I talked to a bunch of Black organizations, just in general that were kind of like Black Lives Matter during that time. And I was just like, do you know anybody who's been shot by a cop and like killed by a cop and things of that sort? And they were just like, no, I don't know anybody who's been killed by a cop or anything like that and all that. So I was just like, I was really kind of confused during that time, and I decided to do a little bit more research when it comes to cops killing Black people, because it really seems like on the news they've been showing cops just mowing down Black people and Black people just dying on a daily basis and things of that sort. Now, am I saying that there's not corrupt cops or there's not terrible cops out there? I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying it really seems like the news seems to inflate the number or the perception of Blacks being shot and killed by police. And as I did my research and I did more statistics and things of that sort, I realized that it was a lot lower of a number than I thought it actually was. And so that's why I'm kind of iffy when it comes to Black Lives Matter in general.
That's a good segue. We're going to be going into Black Lives Matter. Aaron, do you have anything else?
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap this up, I go back to the original point for me of this conversation is that there's family fallout based on your political affiliation.
Right.
But for me, and maybe this is the case, maybe it is, but for me, I come back to the root of it is there a division between you and your family because of this political affiliation, or is there more to it? Is there not enough conversation that's happening in your family? Is there not enough relationship or connection that's happening in your family? Have you defined yourself based on your political affiliation, or are there other things to relate to? Because for me, with all of this in the conversation, I respect that people stand for their values and they pick their political affiliations or their religion or whatnot. But for me, the root of this is your relationship with your family and how to better that, not just for you, but for them, and to be able to have a foundation for when you need to have these conversations, because you need to be able to rely on them and they need to be able to rely on you. So that's where I think my final question is, what do you want? What do you want from the situation, and what do you want to happen?
Right. Of course.
And that's and I ask that rhetorically. That's not something that I necessarily need you to answer now. I think it's just just more of a thinking point for you. I mean, that we could go down the road with that conversation, but I think that's just more of a think pot for you to dwell on.
Right. So, okay. So did you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. Go. If you've got to reply to it, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think it did pose a good question. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I would like to kind of answer that with kind of a statement of what I kind of learned just in general. I've learned from this entire journey, and I've learned from this entire experience that I've learned from this entire experience and this entire journey, and I see everybody arguing 24/7 when it comes to politics, when it comes to things of that sort. First, I just want to answer that I do the angry side of me wants to just stay angry at my family. I mean, the human side of me is just like, you hurt me, like you betrayed me, like things of that sort. So that's kind of the human side of me. But the common sense side of me is saying that, you know, I want to build, and I really want to be able to have that conversation and be able to really not have this situation happen again. But I really want us to really be able to accept each other when it comes to our political differences, and understand that we're still a family and we're still human at the end of the day. But at the bigger point for me is that I see everybody arguing online. I've gotten tons of friend requests. I feel like I'm in a echo chamber at this point. And even if I'm on the right, I see right-wing people like almost acting as if the left isn't human as well. And I see people on the left acting like, oh, yo, these people are crazy. They're just old people. they're just old. Like, they don't know what's going on. Like, they don't know this. And so I feel like I really want to bring it back to the Bible. I feel like Jesus, he didn't change the world just from being perfect. He changed the world because he was willing to walk on the other side and have conversations and have, you know, like discussions with people he didn't really agree with. But through that, massive amounts of good came from the world. So I really want to be somebody who is willing to talk to the leader of Black Lives Matter instead of going ahead and shunning and talking crap about Black Lives Matter just like everybody else is on the right. I see a lot of not black leaders, but conservative leaders. I don't really want to name any names or anything like that, but they're constantly talking about how the left is crazy and the left is this and the left is that, which for me personally, in my point of view, I kind of agree a little bit. But who's talking to the left? Like, who's talking to the left? Who's willing to have the conversations with the left? Who's willing to have the conversations with the right? I see people talking about leadership of Black Lives Matter, but who's willing to talk to the leaders of Black Lives Matter? Who's willing to talk to liberals out in the street? Who's willing to do that? Nobody is doing that. You know what I mean? So I think we need to really focus on one core simple component, which is love. Yeah, I could be as logical as I possibly can. I could put up all the stats. I can show you all the stats in the world, but that ain't gonna make a difference. A lot of people are focused on emotions, so why don't we focus on emotion too? Why don't we focus on the love instead of just, you know, oh, I'm right. Even if I'm right, that's not gonna make a difference because they're still gonna be in that same mind state and they're still gonna be in that same point. So I think we forgot about the love and we forgot about the humanity of the other side, and we act like it is the other side. And I just want to end it like this: we have like the color blue and we have the color red that is torn apart. But instead of using a needle to pin each other's ego, we should use that needle to sew each other back together. And when you sew that red and when you sew that blue, you see the flag that represents us all, which is the flag of America. So I personally think that it's important that we really embrace each other despite our differences and really figure out how we could change this in general. So
that's Cassius. That's what that means. He got goosebumps. So
hey,
usually
I thought he was showing his muscles. I was like, okay, all right.
No, little bro, let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Everything that you just said is valid, and you stand on that, and you keep going with that because that is the truth. We all need to come together. Forget red, forget blue. All right. My views align more with conservative. I guess. I didn't learn that until I went viral. I didn't know that. But I guess they align more with conservative views. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a human. I'm a human. These are all beliefs. Because all it is a belief system. And like you said with Christ, man, he brought people together with love. He spoke out of love. And that's what I challenge people to do, is when you have these hard conversations and you have these tough conversations on all these difficult topics, you speak from a place of love. You don't attack. You do not attack somebody for their beliefs. And you hit it on the head, bro. And as long as you keep that mind that you have, because you're not just using your mind, you're using your heart. And that's why you're going to be effective every single place that you go. Do you hear me? Everywhere that you go, as long as you keep that, you will be effective. You will change minds. You will change hearts. All right? I believe in you, man. I believe in what you're standing on and what you're doing. And I'm proud of you, bro. I don't know if no one's told you that. I'm proud of you. And I'm sure that if your parents take the time to listen to what you just said right now, if you said that to them, I guarantee you they won't be able to argue that. And if they even tried to, then I need you to tell them, I love you. That's what you tell them. Tell them I love you. You know what I'm saying?
That's some parenting right there. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw the snap. I ain't gonna lie. I see the snap.
My kids are driving me crazy today. And Eric wants to come in on the phone like I'm not on live right now.
So I usually wrap it up, but I'm actually going to let you guys finish. But what I do want to say is, because this is a good time, you used the word echo chamber, and I had a post last week that I talked about finding people, because you said, who's going to talk to the left? We're trying. But at the same time, what I've realized in the last week is we're going to keep having these open conversations. And this, because you're talking about the conservatism, this is probably one of our further right conversations that we've had. Typically, we do stay very in the middle. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep having the discussion and realize right now, most of our followers are central to right-leaning white conservatives. Can't do anything about it. But what we can do is continue to have these conversations, because we may not be the ones reaching out, but somebody like Isaiah, when he talks to his family, or somebody like, I'm looking in the box, let's say Steven is having these same issues with family or friends, whether they're white or not. If you're having these same issues, if we're training you a different way to look at things and a different way to have a conversation, a different way to come with empathy instead of facts, a different way, instead of just bogarting your friend's email box or your family's email box with Candace Owens videos or Hodge Twins. You can share that in your echo chamber, but if you're trying to open people's minds to why you feel a certain way, it's not going to do anything. So in the last week since I posted that, I realized, as Isaiah just said, meeting them with love, talking with love. Ultimately, we've got a lot of great people that watch our shows, Cash's shows, and the stuff that we have going on this network, that we're going to go ahead and continue to give information and ideas on how to speak. And we take your guys' feedback, like bringing Isaiah on. And again, this goes into a whole conversation that we'll continue to have about systematic racism. And some people disagree with it, but it's how to engage in that conversation. We are going to end with one real quick thing with Portland and BLM. But before we end with the whole topic around bringing Isaiah on, Curtis and Aaron, go ahead and finish that up. Curtis, go ahead.
Really, really quick. We had somebody drop this in the comments, and then they followed up with that.
Love it, Joshua.
So I love it, Joshua. I mean, and that's the thing we want. We want everybody to be in this, because the truth is what will set everybody free, at the same time. And I'm joking. I'm from the South. But no, one thing I will say is I love how you ended, Isaiah, with that, with the love in your heart, because a lot of people do miss that, and a lot of people, when we talk about Jesus, let's really look deeper. Again, if you're not a Christian, that's okay. You can look in it, look not. Again, this is what I'm using as what I experience, what I believe in, but everybody has their own and free to have it. That's all the disclaimer I always put out there. But I would challenge you. We throw Jesus around, we throw love around, but a lot of people, when I challenge them on that, I go, what did Jesus really say about this? Go deeper and really read his teachings, and not saying you're not understanding of it, just in general, because a lot of times Jesus will throw a curveball, like, well, crap, he said, give it to everybody. He said, just help everybody. And that's sometimes we take that and we say, we're going to help, but then we pick and choose how much we help and who we help. And that sometimes is something we have to really look at before we throw all these things out. It's like, what did Jesus really say? And am I really doing all of it for everyone? And I challenge myself, and I don't say anybody else until I do it. And that's what, and Anthony, to tell you, I could challenge myself on that all the time.
Yeah, it's a true story. Aaron, you got anything else for us on this specific one? And then we'll wrap up with BLM in Portland.
No, I love it. I'm glad you were able to come on to the show, Isaiah, man. I appreciate you. I'm proud of what you're doing and speaking up and speaking out. Keep staying open-minded and digging and finding that love. And I wish you nothing but the best with you and your family and being able to really open that up and be able to have a conversation with them and maybe shine the light that they can't see so that they can open their eyes a little bit more. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you.
And Isaiah, and then we're gonna have Cash. Cash has got one other thing to say. Isaiah, the one thing I'm gonna tell you, you've got the empathy down. You've got the ability to speak. You when you get the ball rolling, you got it going. But now, as your following grows, people are gonna look to you for information, and they're gonna look to you. They're gonna look to you as a leader, and you've been a leader. You tried bringing the police together, so now is the time that, and what Cash has been doing for several months and really hard since he got his following, is learning he's read the Constitution front to back. He knows exactly why he feels a certain way. So your sword right now, you've got the shield, you've got your shield of love. But if you want the sword to then, once you get past that empathy and once you get through that initial area where people want to listen, because people that are on both sides are going to want to listen to you, be prepared then to super have all the facts that you need to support everything that you feel. And it's a learning process. We learn every day. But that's my one bit of advice. Cash, go ahead.
I just want to tell you once again, bro, I'm proud of you and that I love you. And when you get off of here, I want you to get my number from Anthony. Send him my number, Anthony.
I got you.
Get my number. I want to talk to you, man, and I want to have you come on my show as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. No problem at all, little brother. You keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you.
All right. Cool.
All right. Isaiah, I'm going to drop you off. We're going to finish up with BLM. Thank you so much for being around. I appreciate you. Thank you, Isaiah.
All right. Have a good one.
You too, bro.
Thanks, Isaiah.
All right. That last little bit he sounded a little bit like Lil Cash, just feeling the flow right there.
Bro, I got chills a couple times. I'm like, I had to look around. I thought about, well, where's he from? Do I got a kid somewhere out there?
Boston, I believe.
Yeah.
No, I ain't got no kids.
Nah, you ain't in Boston.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and send that link to Isaiah that you just gave me on the side there, Curtis. All right, so here's the deal. We're going to wrap up with BLM. Before that, since we got everybody here, Cash's kids aren't driving them nuts. I want to give an update on everything going on. First off, Curtis, Cash, you guys got to get together this week, talk Regular Hero,
Cash.
And talk Streetlights.
Thursday.
So with
it, baby.
So a lot of people are asking because the T-shirts are going to be sent this week. We had to have Cash sign all the cards, which was a lot of them. So he's got the signed cards that are there. It's going to the
carpal tunnel.
Yeah, he's got carpal tunnel right now. That will be going to the that'll be going to the printer shortly. So everything's ready to go, but it will be the end of the week. So thank you for your patience. We definitely used all 14 days of that. I'm going to be putting this is now a podcast. All of our episodes since we started with Aaron, Curtis, and I are up. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the box so you can actually please do us a favor. Join be a subscriber to the podcast. All these channels allow us to keep spreading our message in different ways. Thirdly, we've got the Streetlights group that are going to be going all over the country. We've got over 80 volunteers right now. So we got over 80 volunteers, and we're just going to start organizing them. And we are going to have one group per state that is almost ready to launch. Next week, we'll be starting all of that. We've got our groups getting set up. So stay tuned for that. The people that volunteered, you guys are going to be our initial people helping moderate those groups. So a lot of stuff going on. Please be patient with us. It's literally just Cash and I doing a lot of the back end work. So just know the T-shirts are going out end of this week for people that are asking. I know some of you guys bought on the first day that we talked about them. So please be patient with that. And I think that is it. I'm going to put that in the box, and then we're going to talk about BLM. Anybody else got any updates?
Yeah, really quick. I will be saying this again next week, but two things. Got a awesome app that is for volunteers for nonprofits to help us do all of that for us, organization, reaching out, messaging, and everything else. Cash and Anthony. So I wanted to wait to share that with you guys. We are going to set up a meeting this week so we can get that going and make it easier to get people able to help and connect with Streetlights and any other group they want to join with. The other thing is just want to shout out to everybody to continue supporting your frontline workers. The Gratitude Tour, which is out of Miami, but they're growing again into other places, is raising money to feed the doctors and nurses in the hospital that are overwhelmed right now in the ER, because Florida is a very hard-hit area like Georgia and Texas. We've been doing it before in the last 4 or 5. We've done 4 or 5 hospitals we fed, but just got a new hospital, a new restaurant. So I will be dropping some more information in on that. And yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I'm loving what Streetlights. We're going to get ready to get that partnered up, and then, you know, throw even more at it, because we got some great things coming.
Yes, sir. All right, I love what I'm seeing on the side. There's a little disagreement with Joshua and somebody else, and they realize that they're all. The final comment, one of them by Mark, was that we're all in this together. We may differ in opinion, but that's just life. That is what we're trying to teach people in our group to be better at. And this is something that I wasn't great at 3 months ago. So it's all about growth. Last quick thing. We're going to talk about Portland. I don't know if anybody watched the Portland thing.
Ran them out.
Here, first off, I was with Cash this last weekend, and it relates because you see some things. So Cash lives in a community that is small, predominantly white, lower socioeconomic status. First off, Cash is their prodigal son, no doubt. When he shows up at an event, they love him. But it's a city that on the vision test, I drive up. I know my background. I came from lower socioeconomic status, and you have a set thing in your head of what you think people are going to act like in a group like that. And in my head, it's what you think on TV. It's what I grew up in, and all these different things. And I immediately see this group of people, and I go, they're probably going to be racist. They're probably going to be closed-minded. And I guarantee you, none of them have put hashtag Black Lives Matter on anything that they have. These are the nicest group of people that you could possibly imagine. In this small town of 11,000, they've got a gay mayor that is open about it. They love him. They embrace him. Cash is one of their favorite people, not because they don't even know if he's conservative. They just know that he's trying to create change in the surrounding communities, and they love him for that. So the thought process becomes, this is the image that you want to see, because you look at a low socioeconomic group and they don't actually see color. They really don't.
Nope.
They just see kindness and they see good amongst a group. And that to me is the cure, because there are so many people that are pushing that. You have to have Black Lives Matter on your page. You have to be saying things on social media. Some of these people probably don't even have a damn computer. They don't care. They're just good to each other. And that's what I took from that. And then when you look at Black Lives Matter, you wonder, and the reason it translates into this is you wonder what is being fought for. So I watched until 3 a.m. the other night, Portland Black Lives, because I'm a masochist. I watched the Portland Black Lives Matter protests, and I started looking around in this group where they're not breaking down the barriers we want. They're breaking down the chain link fences, and they're starting this fight, and they're causing the police to then finally have to charge them and come out. And I watched, I was like, oh, this just got good. There was no black people in the audience. There was not a single one. And it makes you start thinking, what are they fighting for? They're fighting for separation. So I counted in an hour watching, out of about 1,500 people that I would see passing, I counted 7. And I might have counted somebody twice, and there might have been a Puerto Rican in there. I don't know.
That's a lot in Portland, though.
That is a lot in Portland. But it's one of those ones, like, they're affecting tax dollars. They're like, this takes money to repair. They're destroying the city. And it's 6 weeks after the George Floyd incident. And right now, what are they fighting for, and what is the purpose? So before I bring up the one image that I'm going to show, who wants to go first on this topic?
Cash can go.
I'll go. You already know. I just didn't want to say it.
I know.
Hey, real quick. Kelly said, I love when Cash says I'm not political, but then says Trump 2020. That's because I believe in humanity. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Trump 2020 isn't political. I like Trump now. You You know,
technically it is political, Cash. Actually, just say.
Oh well, sorry. My bad. Guess I'm being a little bit political.
He is running for president, so technically it falls to that.
Yes.
He's a political candidate.
Yep.
Hey, well, you know what? Hey, Trump for humanity. How about that? Is that political?
No, it's still political. All right, go ahead. Talk about Black Lives Matter, and then I gotta go see my daughter.
Just a little bit.
All right, what are we doing?
The Black Lives Matter.
I can jump in.
All right, go ahead, Curtis, and then you go.
Yeah. So I mean, I did watch a little bit of that, which was very I don't want to say comical because that's not nice to say, but it just was. It was different for me, and I've had these conversations with people who aren't Black, and I love people who aren't Black protesting and standing up for rights for others. Right? It's just the same thing as people who aren't gay or people who aren't whatever. You know, Christians fighting for Muslim rights and vice versa, or whatever. But at the point where you get to it, where okay, we've been protesting. You don't have to stop protesting. That's your right, and peaceful protesting is great, and showing up and holding our politicians accountable is what we want. But when you start to do some of the things that I saw and antagonizing, and then you look at the crowd and you go, and this is a judgment that could be that's a judgment. I'm thinking like, why are they so that upset? Which I'm happy that you're mad and want to do something about it, but how do you get that upset? Or outside of it, and just trying to wrap my brain around it to get to that level that they are doing what they're doing. I've been to Portland. It's not many Black people there, and they have their own problems. Again, it's not just for Black; it's other problems that they have. But at the same time, I just look at it and I go, what is going on to make these people? Do they have the time, or you got to have time? You got to have some kind of money to be able to do that, because you're gonna be broke. I'm just sitting like, what's going on to get these people to fight for that? Because at the end of the day, this is not accomplishing anything. This is taking away from the narrative that people protested, my brothers, my sisters, my father, protested over the years, right? And even during this time, my brother in LA with peaceful protests, my brother in Atlanta with peaceful protests and fighting to keep it peaceful. These are things that you look at and I go, this isn't what they were doing. This isn't what it is. And it's a trend, unfortunately. And Isaiah had said it earlier, he did see a lot of, a lot of white and some Black. But at the same time, as I was looking in Atlanta, as I was looking in places that were predominantly Black, I saw a lot of white people in this presence of what's going on in the violence. And it's, again, I'm not blaming white people. That's just what I'm seeing in that. And it's just like, hold on. But yet the news will paint it that way. But so now with this one, it's all that. I'm just sitting there like, what is going on? Because we need Black Lives Matter. If they're legit, they're the movement. The corporation, not the movement, right? Two different things. But I need the corporation. If they're about it, I need them to actually stand up and say, okay, this is not what we're about. We're trying to figure this out better. Because honestly, I don't see any leadership there, and I don't see why what's going on right there now. It's unfortunately for me. I just don't feel like that's legit. I think there's something else going on.
Cash, you can only go 20% conspiracy on this one. You gotta keep it down. but the other thing, Curtis, to just directly respond to what you said. Yes, we have the freedom to protest at this point, but God, there's a pandemic going on, and when it becomes that pointless, at this point it's become, in a situation like that, it's become pointless. And going back to our first discussion of the day about education, if schooling is that important, especially if we're talking about the underprivileged, a bunch of these wealthy, I call them yippies, most likely, yippies, are going to they're going to continue to get sick, even if it's just numbers and they're at the age they're not, dying or whatever. They're causing people to not be able to go back to school. This is where I do actually get angry. It's not worth it anymore, especially a gigantic group of white people in Portland protesting and chanting Black Lives Matter. It's confusing. Who wants it, Aaron or Cash? And then we're going to wrap up.
Go for it, Aaron.
Cash, wrap us up, man. Wrap us up.
Okay, look. Listen, man.
All right, so this is what I have to say about it.
Go for it, please. Go ahead. No, go.
Go for it, Cash.
Go, Aaron. He was just
doing it.
Black Lives Matter needs to go away already. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Numbers done been shown. There's been, look, man, you know how many deaths have happened since Black Lives Matter, since this whole thing with George Floyd at the protest? Let's just, come on now. How many people was killed at the protest? At the protest, not by the police. They started fighting each other, man. And in Portland, they asked for it. I'm sorry. They asked for it. When I had old girl, I was on her live, Sarah, I believe her name is. I'm on her live and I'm watching and they're all screaming Black Lives Matter and forget the police and all this stuff. And they spray painting on the Fed building.
Yeah,
they're spray painting on the Fed building. No black people out there that I can see. So this is just a whole bunch of I guess, angry people with white guilt out there screaming Black Lives Matter, where, by the way, ain't nobody really being killed over there in Portland. You know, I think they got a black police chief. It's just, it made no sense to me. It made no sense to me. Black Lives Matter, since they gotten started, they gotten, I don't know how much money. How much did they put in? How many kids they put into college? How many community events have they had? How much have they really done since they've been in Oregon, other than get people to tear the country apart? Incite violence, incite riots towards white people that don't stand with Black Lives Matter and the police. I'll wait.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter needs to go away.
It's
divisive.
It's unfortunately it's bogarted the movement. It's bogarted the whole concept, because right now we have an opportunity as a society to start fixing some of the issues in the past, and unfortunately they're just the same ways. You can have another long discussion, which I think my mom will kill me because it's time to go see my daughter, her granddaughter. But ultimately, the same way that the Black Panthers got infiltrated, it's happening again because division keeps us controlled. And I'll leave it at that. But it's not
real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Brittany said, Cash, are you for or against Black Lives Matter? I love the people that are out there for a real cause, that really feel some type of way. I'm not against the protesters that are out there peaceably, but against the organization of Black Lives Matter, I couldn't care less if they fell into. I'm not for them. I'm not for Black Lives Matter. I am against Black Lives Matter as the thing
corporation,
over there, not the
corporation.
people.
The corporation.
There you go.
Yeah. And I will say, be careful, Google. I literally just typed in what has black, and it finished it. Lives Matter done for the community. That's kind of crazy. I've never typed that in my browser. Okay, Google. I know you listen to us. All right, you know.
There's something to be said when this is when they've decided to make the logo, and they talk about how Trump's eagle looked like the Nazi logo. It's one of those things, and Cash, don't say anything, but if you're gonna go that way, symbolism will be the end of whatever is going on right now. Shush.
Yup.
Shush. Shush. All right. We're going to wrap it up right here. I'm actually going to wrap it up first, and I'm going to let you guys do it, and then I'm going to go see my daughter. Thank you guys for joining us on this. Who am I putting in control? Aaron, Curtis, who's got the back end?
I'll be the last. Go ahead.
Okay. Sounds great. Everybody, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. And I know last week I was a little bit frustrated with trying to find a way to get out of that echo chamber, and I realized we don't necessarily need that. We want that, but we don't need it, because I watched the way you guys handle yourself in a conversation. And I've been seeing Steve Butler make the comments, how he got in a disagreement. I had his back. I made him feel like family. Fact is, if you are peacefully disagreeing with somebody on another page and I see it and I've got a few minutes to dabble, I'm going to get your back. And I love the way that ended, because it started with being kind. I came in with kindness, then I came in with fact, and then I took self-responsibility for making a mistake. Self-responsibility is huge. And then I was able to circle back. So if you're gonna entertain a Facebook fight, be careful, because it's gonna be very difficult to spin out of you. And yes, Paul, we need to go national. How do we go national? We share the living snot out of this page. Do I have anything else to show you guys? If you want to, some of you were asking about the T-shirts. Go ahead and go to #BetheChange.com, and we've got on the shop page, you've got Unite, Don't Fight, you've got Be the Change stuff. These gentlemen are going to wrap it up. I'm going to put in the comment box one more time the podcast. Please join that for us. We've just put all 7 of them up at once. We sound fantastic. Thank you guys very much. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Y'all got it from here.
We out. Go ahead. All right, go ahead, Aaron. Or Cash, either one.
Yeah, because I got to cut out. End it like this. Look, at the end of the day, we all have a difference of opinion. We all feel a different way about different things. No one's ever going to agree totally. And like the young man said, Isaiah, it becomes an echo chamber when we do. Then we can tackle issues that actually are important, actually do need to be talked about. We're not going to agree on everything. But as long as we can come together and talk about it with love, and then at the end of the day, respect each other, that's how we bridge the gaps. That's how we create unity. That's how we gain understanding. Healthy dialogue is important. So, at the end of the day, unite, don't fight, be a street light, be the change that you want to see in the world. I love you, my brothers. I love everybody that's here watching right now. And Miss Jamie Lynn Hennessy, if you could, I'm about to hit you up right now. We're going to talk. Y'all have a good day. I love you guys.
Thanks, brother. Be safe. Love those kids.
I'm about to go whoop them.
He didn't say that. I'm joking.
Quick wrap up on my end. I changed my little name title because that's a film that I did with Taraji P. Henson and Sam Rockwell called The Best of Enemies, and it is about school integration in Durham, North Carolina, back in the early 70s. And there's a lot of similar, despite COVID, there's a lot of similar concepts from that film that kind of have to do with today. So I put that up there for you guys to check out because I know a lot of people are kind of at home looking for shows and films and whatnot to watch. So that's one thing. The other thing that I just wanted to put out there as we close, along with what Cash says about love and empathy and what Isaiah said, there's always a root. There's always a root to something. It's not just the fruit. I think the stuff that happened with Isaiah and his family is the poor fruit that came off of that tree because they're not nourishing the root of that family. And I think that's where the issue will always come from. And we've got to be able to have those strong roots and be able to love it and nurture it and to be able to build that up so that we can reap the right type of fruit from our trees. The other quick thing is the phrase common sense and the joking, the sarcasm about Jane Teacher. I hate having to put this out there, but the fact of common sense and the fact that we can joke about something like Jane Teacher, and we know that it's a joke, but there are people that don't know that, and they would lean into it. Oh man, they had this teacher that was Jane Teacher. I'm not putting this on you guys out there. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general. And I think it's people saying, oh, well, that's common sense, or you should know that, or whatever it is. And that's the thing that's kind of crazy in this world, is that common sense is kind of erratic right now. It's kind of
That's true.
It's not the same for everyone. I believe that there was a point in time where we had very similar principles and values, and we were all trying to work towards those particular things, and then and manners, and that's and even manners, that word, those were essentially common sense. But now I think things are very different. So I just say that so that we can be aware of it, so that our personal expectations, we don't put out there on other people and expect them to know what we're thinking or to even know what they're remotely thinking. And that's why when Isaiah was talking and it was starting to get into a political thing and about Trump, I was like, it didn't start just with Trump and just with this conversation. It had to come from the root farther back into it. So that's why I kind of ask questions like that. To wrap it up, I appreciate you guys. I say it every time, but I will continue to say it. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys for tuning in. Please go out, be the change you wish to see, not only for yourself, but for your community. And despite our differences, hopefully we can rock together and make some change in this world. Love you guys. Appreciate you.
Aaron, one more time. What was that movie?
The Best of Enemies is what it is.
And that is there on your on your lower your name. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Aaron. And I'm gonna be much quicker. Just want to say, as I usually say, everybody challenge yourself, because that's the only person that is going to make the real changes, yourself. You know, if we can make ourselves better, and then we hold our friends accountable, then you know, that's the only way we can see real change. And you know, again, like it is all about unite, don't fight. It's about being regular heroes, about be the change. It's a lot of these things that we say, and we can give you a label, we can give you a cause, but you know, you can get behind it, but don't just find identity in a cause. Don't find identity in a political side. Don't find identity in a brand or anything else. And I'm in marketing, and I'm the one trying to help people buy things. But what I try to do and make sure everybody understand is find out who you are, find your identity, find your purpose, and then you'll know exactly where to go. And if you find your identity, find your purpose, nobody can get you out of there. And you will be living in truth. You'll be living in love. And you know, that's what, and that's a very good book. Start with why. And then I will also drop in this box. I urge everybody to watch this. I just got put on it, Crime and Punishment on Hulu, I think it is. It is a crazy documentary that, you know, I myself had to really look at and break down, because it goes deep. And these are police officers, and I'm just gonna preface it does get deep. It's police officers talking about what's going on in the police force. And this is out of New York City. And a lot of people say, well, that's just another city. But a lot of times New York sets trends in a lot of things because they're the biggest city in America. And so I just want everybody to watch it with open mind. You know, I'm not telling you to think a certain way. I just want everybody to be informed. And this is, again, the real police officers who are still police officers, which is great, because they believe in the cause. They believe in, you know, making the community better and keeping us safe. And that's something that I'm like, okay, I can see this. Let me look at it. Because I don't want to just tell you something with me not able to do it myself. And I'm actually going to watch it again tonight. So it was really good. But yeah, so watch those things. Also, just watch something different. Watch something you've never watched before. I challenge everybody to watch something you never watched before. And, you know, come back and let us know what you saw and see if it's different, and challenge yourself. And you know, Aaron definitely watched my podcast. I'm totally joking. I don't have a podcast. We do now. Kidding. Watch this podcast. We got it on Apple, Spotify, and Google. All right. I'm happy to say that. That's it. And Google just alerted myself again. Stop it. I'm not talking to you. Yeah. Now be safe, everybody. We love you all. Don't forget, again, if you want to help us out in Florida, right now going on is the Grata Tour. It is right here on my name. I'll drop it in the lower third. It's called it's on Instagram. Follow us. You can see what we've been doing. But this is something that we will be bringing on with Regular Hero and Streetlights, to just add more areas where people can help. Because you can't have enough areas to help and avenues to help. If you're in Florida, that's where we're starting. We're going to, again, continue to push it everywhere else, along with Cash, Streetlights, and also Be the Change. So check it out. It's at the Grata Tour. And yeah, let's all hang in there and have some fun this week. Be safe, and just walk in love. That's the biggest thing I can say. Anything else, Aaron? I'm done.
That's it. Let's wrap it up.
All right. That's what I'm talking about, man. I love everybody on this thing. Y'all look so pretty, beautiful. I don't even. There we go. There we go. Now you can just hear my voice. You don't have to see my face. Sorry, I don't have makeup on it, Aaron.
Press the end button.
No, man. I'm talking right now to the people. Now, and Kristen Commander. I'm sorry. I am in the woods right now. I am quarantining away from everybody except for a few select amazing people. I'm in the woods, so find your haven. Love you all.